it's Alice, and I'm here today to discuss my predictions for the YA Book Prize 2024 shortlist. So if you've watched this channel around this time of year before, you'll know that I like featuring a lot of YA Book Prize content. I've done like reading vlogs for the books before. I've done predictions basically every year. I discuss how I feel about the shortlist when it gets announced, and it is being revealed on Thursday at 9 AM, so you should expect a video kind of Thursday evening discussing what I think of the shortlist and whether these predictions were correct or not. What's made it more interesting this year is the fact that the YA Book Prize have actually put up 10 hints which link to the titles that are shortlisted, as well as 10 colour swatches that hint towards the books which are shortlisted's colour schemes. They've never done hints or anything like this before, so I have been absolutely living for this over the last couple of days. I'd already made my predictions. I had quite a solid list of predictions, and some of those don't fit into this list, so I will be giving like honourable shout outs to other books I'd considered for these prompts. And I'm not saying that I'm correct on these by any means, because I'm definitely probably not. But I've worked really hard at this, and I think I've got a few of them right. But we'll just have to wait and see on Thursday. So without further ado, these are my guesses for the YA Book Prize based off of what I already had and the prompts that they've kind of given to us. So the first hint that the YA Book Prize posted was fake dating, heartwarming, hilarious and swoon-worthy. So to start with, I thought this might have been Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher, but I ended up actually throwing that to the wayside for a reason which you'll understand later, because I've actually just put it on a different prompt. But instead, I've gone with This Is How You Fall in Love by Annika Hussain. I had heard of this book when it was published. It sounded quite cute. I think I can remember saying to Sean that it sounded like the kind of thing that might end up being on the YA Book Prize shortlist, because it's like fake dating, but then it sounds like they end up falling in love, but then there's also like a love triangle, so it's quite comedic. And there's normally one on the list that will have some kind of like relationship drama as the focus, but very light-hearted and very funny. I will say I haven't read this one, so I don't know whether it ticks all of the boxes exactly, but looking at the reviews and looking at the blurb, it seems like it might. And it also has a very, very similar shade of purple to one of the colours that was chosen as a colour swatch, so I'm going to lock that in as my guess for the first prompt. The second prompt was Search for Truth, Secret Identity and Scandal, and this one really messed me up. I'd originally thought How to Die Famous by Benjamin Dean, and then I changed it for The Agency for Scandal by Laura Wood. And the main reason I did that was because, like, obviously it has Scandal in the title, and Laura Wood has been shortlisted for the YA Book Prize a couple of times before, so I was thinking, well, it could be an author returning with another shortlist. But then the colour swatches got revealed, and the Laura Wood book does not fit any of the colour swatches at all, but How to Die Famous does, because it's this very pale purple, which means that I've put that back in as my guess. This sounds like it's about a boy who is an actor in a TV show. His brother is like working as one of the behind the scenes staff members, like crew members, and he actually ends up being found dead. So that would be the scandal, would be somebody's died on this like film set. The search for the truth would be looking for who the brother's killer is. And I'm wondering if maybe people don't realise that they're related, which could be the hidden identity. Again, I haven't read the book yet. I guess the identity of the killer could be the secret identity, but it's a tenuous link, and I'm not completely convinced on this one, but it just seemed a bit too much for me that I'd put it in, then taken it out, and then there just happened to be a colour that matched it exactly, so back in again it went. The third prompt was Reclaiming the Narrative, Fierce and Empowering, and for this one I've gone with Girl, Goddess, Queen by B. Fitzgerald. I went with this one because it's a retelling of the Hades and Persephone myth, in that Hades doesn't actually kidnap Persephone, but she chooses to go, and she's very much in charge of her own destiny. So I feel as that might work with the fierce and the empowering hints as well. I had and ahhed about possibly putting this one as the pale purple because it does match quite nicely with the crown on the cover, but I've actually gone with like the hot pink colour because it looks like an identical match. I just wasn't sure if that would be a bit too obvious of a clue. But I definitely think this is going to be on here somewhere, whether it corresponds with these hints or not. The next one is another one that completely stumped me, and this is gripping mystery, witty and clever. So I had thought that this could be, is it Catch or Death? No. This Book Kills by Raveena Garon, because that's about a girl who's in a boarding school and she writes a short story and then somebody ends up being killed, and it's using the way that the character is killed in her short story. So that sounded like that could be witty and clever. But I've actually now changed it to Murder on a School Night by Kate Weston, because this really, really matches like the neon pink colour on these colour swatches. And someone did comment below the YA Book Prizes post and say, that looks like Murder on a School Night. And I had not heard of this book at all. I'd heard of some of the author's other work, but I hadn't heard of this one in particular. And after reading the blurb, it does sound like it's quite witty and clever, because it sounds like it's like murder but in a comical way, but for young adults. So either way, I'm interested in reading it. It would be nice if it was shortlisted because it's a good excuse to read it. But also the Raveena book, This Book Kills, the colours just don't match at all. So I had to take that one out anyway. So this one might as well go in just off of the colour theory. The next prompt was best friends, self-acceptance, thoughtful and charming, which again stumped me. To start with, I went with Broken Hearts and Zombie Parts by William Hussey, because William, I believe, has been shortlisted before. If not, I'm pretty sure I thought he was going to be shortlisted, even if he wasn't. So it would be about time for him to be up if he hasn't been up yet. And it talks about self-acceptance in the blurb a lot, because it's somebody who's having like surgery because they've got a heart condition. But none of the colour swatches really matched unless you gave this the hot pink for Girl Goddess Queen, because it's like similar to one of the characters' t-shirts. So I ended up taking it out, and instead I've gone with Yours from the Tower by Sally Nichols, because this is covered in like greenery, so it could match nicely with the forest green colour on the cover swatches. And this one's about 3 girls who leave boarding school and they continue their relationship like through letters. And it sounds like it's a lot about kind of friends coming to terms with where their lives are and how they're growing up, which would explain the self-acceptance. And it sounds like there's a lot of people who've described it as quite cozy and quite comfortable, so that could be the charming aspect of the prompts. I'm probably wrong, but Sally Nichols has been shortlisted at least once before for Things a Bright Girl Can Do, I think it was called. And I did really enjoy that book, and I've wanted to read more of her writing. So considering I hadn't actually heard about this one and I only found it when I was searching for the colours on the cover, I am very interested in reading it now. The next book prompt is unexpected romance, moving and empathetic, and I have put so many different things into here. I started off with Boy Like Me by Simon James Green, because that's about a boy who is gay, and it's at a time where it's very much illegal to be gay in the UK. It's not something that you can talk about, it's not something that you can really discuss with children, and he finds a book and is writing notes to another boy in the margins. So I thought that could be the unexpected romance aspect, and it definitely sounds very moving and very thought-provoking, but none of the colours matched the cover. So I wondered for a minute whether the green might have been a clue to the name and they might have been tricking us. So if I do see this one on the shortlist, I won't be surprised at all, and I will think that that's exactly what happened. But I actually ended up changing my guess to Happy Head by Josh Silver. So this has the green colour on the cover, the other type of green, there's 2 greens. And I hadn't heard of it before, but it sounds like it sounds almost dystopian-esque in that there's like this program for teenagers that's supposed to be called it like curing depression, and people are going there to try to be fixed. But there's a line in the blurb that makes it sound as though there might be a romance in this scene, which is why I'm going with the unexpected romance. And because it's about mental health and depression and things like that, I think that could be quite moving, and anything that talks about emotions is just inherently empathetic. So I'm going with that for this one. However, that's mostly because there's another prompt that it also fits, but there's another book that I really want to have that prompt because I want it to be shortlisted. So I am manipulating this a little bit for myself. But again, I haven't read any of these yet, so I don't know what the actual plots are about. I'm just going off of the covers, the titles, the blurbs, and early reviews that I've seen. And like spoiler-free reviews that I've seen because I don't want to get spoilers. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it's sound logic. You cannot deny that the logic is there. The next prompt was female friendship, rebellion, fulfillment and yearning, which is a lot of different things going on yet again. I did consider for a minute whether it might have been trying to throw us off the scent, and it might have been Cursed Crowns by Catherine Webber and Catherine Doyle, but that's actually about sisters instead of female friends. I wondered if maybe that was a red herring, but that will include rebellion. There was definitely yearning in the first book, but I've taken that one out because there's a book that I really want to be on this shortlist, and I'll be honest with you, I can't see it clearly in any of the prompts, which is very disappointing to me because if it's not shortlisted then I think it's a massive mistake. But this was the closest prompt that I could make it link with, and it's Where the Light Goes by Sarah Barnard. So it does match the yellow for the colour swatches, so I'm not shoehorning that in, but this is a book about a girl whose sister sadly dies by suicide and she has to learn to come to terms with it. She pushes her friends away, but towards the end of the book in particular, like, there's a lot of her and her friends kind of reconnecting and helping each other through a lot of things. She's a bit rebellious because she asks questions that people doesn't want her to ask, and she does a lot of things that people tell her not to in her quest for closure surrounding her grief and surrounding the death that has been experienced. And I also think that that works really well with the yearning, because it's a case that obviously she's yearning for her sister. Her sister's no longer here and she wishes that she was. I can see how it could link to the fulfillment aspect as well, because I have read the book. So I think that's why I'm finding it easier to link this one, because I can see this in it. If it is this, it's a really subtle hint. It's so subtle, and I'm not sure if it's going to be. But this is one of the best YA books that I've ever read. It's the best Sarah Barnard book I've read, and that's saying something, because Beautiful Broken Things was her debut and that was shortlisted and it was phenomenal. Goodbye Perfect won, and yeah, I think it's about time Sarah Barnard took this prize home again, because Where the Light Goes is just superb. I don't have good enough words for this one. So I'm going to move on to the next book, or I'm going to get emotional. But if it's not on this shortlist, which I'm starting to worry that it won't be, it's a crying shame. The next prompt is propulsive, sinister and thought-provoking. And for this one, it's another book that I feel has to be on this shortlist, and I will be angry if it's not. And that is You Could Be So Pretty by Holly Bourne. So Holly Bourne is basically the queen of UK YA. And from what I can remember, she's never actually won the YA Book Prize. This is illegal. The Places I've Cried in Public should have won. It Only Happens in the Movies could have won. And I'm surprised by the fact that she still hasn't won. So I'm hoping that with this book, which is like a dystopian that's looking at the price of beauty and expectations on feminine, like females and women, and just a lot about societal expectations on girls, and I think that it could be the perfect time for her to win, because it's very topical issues. It's things that are being discussed in the media more and more often, and very, very relevant as well. This one's difficult because, again, the colours don't really match anything. The dark blue of the lips looks like the dark blue. So I'm hoping that it will be, but not seeing like a pale pink or a red on these colour swatches did worry me to start with. I haven't read this book yet purely because I've been waiting to read it with the YA Book Prize shortlist, because I thought it was going to be hard enough to squeeze in 10 books in a very short space of time without rereading ones that I'd already read. So if this isn't shortlisted and the entire reason that I've waited to read it is because I thought it was going to be, I'm going to have egg on my face. The next prompt is haunting, gothic, sinister and dark. And for this one I've gone with Every Exquisite Thing by Laura Stephen. This matches like the dark purple colour swatch. And it's also meant to be like a feminist retelling of The Picture of Dorian Gray. So that ticks off the haunting, that ticks off the gothic. I'm going to assume this is going to be up because Laura Stephen was shortlisted last year with the Society of Soulless Girls. I didn't particularly enjoy it, which was a surprise because the exact opposite of OK, which was her debut novel, is in my top 5 books of all time. It's fabulous. But this one has had a special edition in the locked library box, so the publisher is clearly supporting it a lot, and I'm hoping that that support might extend to submitting it for YA Book Prize consideration. And the last prompt is thrilling, hilarious prompt, comedic and energising. And for this one I've put Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher, and I'm pretty certain this is going to be on the shortlist because the teal colour in the top corner is identical to this book, absolutely identical, and this is described as like a romp in all of like the blurbs I've seen on Amazon and Goodreads and Waterstones, and it was a Waterstones book club pick, and I'm pretty sure it might have been nominated for the Waterstones Children's Prize. Like, this has been a huge book over the last year. Sean actually suggested this one before I could when we were discussing the prompts together. I thought of it, but Sean was straight away like, that's going to be that one about Gwen and Art, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, okay, that probably will be. Well done. I didn't even realise Lex Croucher was a UKYA author until I looked it up. But that is the last one on this list. So I'm hoping I'll have at least 5 right. I'm feeling confident on Gwen and Art. I'm feeling confident on Every Exquisite Thing. I'm feeling confident on Girl Goddess Queen. To an extent, I'm feeling confident on You Could Be So Pretty. And I really wish I was feeling confident on Where the Light Goes, but it should just be on here anyway. Everything else is up in the air, but I've done my research. I've put in the hours. I have looked at more book covers and author biographies than you could possibly imagine, and the amount of blurbs I found that were perfect and colours that were perfect, and then the author lived in America or Australia or Canada and they were out was so frustrating. So at least I've learned my lesson that I need to look at the authors first if I do this again. I would just like to give a quick shout out to The Half-Life of Love by Brianna Bourne, because this is the only book that I had on my original list and I can't see it reflected in any of the prompts, and it's definitely not in any of the colours either. So whereas the other books that I had on my list kind of switched on and off and could still fit with some of the prompts, that was one that I definitely thought I might see on here, because it's about a boy who, well, it's a world where you get told when you're halfway through your life, and this boy has been told he has like a certain amount of time left to live and he's going to be dying quite young. He meets a girl, she wants to kind of change the world and take these half-lives away, but he can't get the courage to kind of tell her that his half-life is approaching. So I thought that was going to be on here because it seems like the kind of book that would normally get shortlisted. It would be a pleasant surprise to see it on there, because it would be nice to see an author and a book that I hadn't heard of at all until I started researching this. But it's definitely one that's on my radar now, so I'll be picking that up at some point in the future, whether it's shortlisted or not. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you'll leave me some of your predictions for the YA Book Prize shortlist down in the comments. As I said, make sure to check back on Thursday to see my thoughts on the shortlist. I'm hoping that I'm going to be excited, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be gloating because I'm so correct about all of the picks on here. And I'm really, really hoping I'm not going to be super sad and angry that some of my favourite books haven't been shortlisted. But either way, I am excited, and it's going to be fun to read these over the next couple of months until the prize is revealed at the end of August. I'm Alice, this is the Bumbling Blogger, and this is the beginning of the YA Book Prize season, and I'm so happy! Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon with another video. Bye!